Welcome back to a new episode about the exercises of the control structures. The first exercise is that we need to create two variables with two integer numbers and print out which one is the highest and lowest. So let's create two variables. Set variable x equal to 10 and variable y equal to 15. This can be done with an if-else statement or a if and else if statement. So let's start by creating an if statement first, and we want to see if variable x is higher than variable y. If that's true, we want to create two new variables inside our loop, because we want to say if variable x is indeed higher than variable y, we want to set the highest variable equal to variable x. And if that's not true, we want to set the lowest equal to y. Sorry. So what we want to do next is just echo out what the highest and lowest number is. So let's say echo highest value is highest. And let's also echo out the lowest value is lowest. So let's go back to our So right now you can see that it's not true, but let's replace 10 with 18, save it, refresh it, and let's also add a break in between. And you can see that the highest value is 18, which is true, and the lowest value is 15, which is also true. But we're not done yet, because like what you just saw, what if variable x is lower than y? Nothing's printed out. So what we can do is let's copy our if statement, paste it right below the closing bracket, and just add else. What we want to see here is if variable x is lower than variable y. So let's change the greater than to less than. And also the highest will be variable y, and the lowest will be variable x. So let's save it, refresh the browser, and you can see that this is true, because the highest value is variable y, which is equal to 15, and the lowest value is equal to 10. And if we change it back to 18 again, you can see that the first if statement will be printed out. All the solutions will also be in our resources, so I'll be removing it right now, and I'll just continue on with exercise number 2. So exercise number 2. Let's create a variable with a value number in between 1 to 4, and we need to reject any other value. Based on the value, print out spades, hearts, diamonds, and clubs. So this can be done with a switch statement. You can use an else if statement as well, but in our case, a switch statement is way easier. So let's start by creating a variable, setting it equal to 1. We can change it to 4 as well. And let's create a switch. Our condition is variable x, because that needs to be checked every single time. So let's create our case. So what if case is equal to 1? Then we want to echo out spades. And we also need to end it with a break. And let's copy and paste it 4 times. So let's change cases to 1, 2, 3, and 4. If it's case 2, it needs to be hearts. If it's case 3, it needs to be diamonds. And case 4 needs to be clubs. So let's save it, refresh the browser, and you can see that the output is spades, output is diamonds, and output will be clubs. But if we change it to 6, nothing is printed out. So remember, we need to add something which is called a default. So let's add a default. And we want to echo out, sorry, the value is not acceptable. Let's save it, refresh the browser, and you can see that value 6 is not acceptable. Alright, let's continue on with exercise number 3. Let me open the exercises. So the American grading system works with the letter A, B, C, D, and F, where C or higher means that you've passed the subject. Well, I'm from the Netherlands, so our grading system is totally different. It's like this. So therefore, I created this exercise. Create a variable that shows the amount of points a student scores. So it already said what we need to do. Let's create a variable and set it equal to score and just put a random number in between. Based on the number, score, output the letter that the student has gotten. Also, show if the student passed the exam or not. Alright, so this can be done with an if statement, an else if statement, and an else. So let's create an if. So what we want to check if score, so let's start with A actually. So let's say that score is higher or equal to 90 and score is less than and equal to 100. If that's true, we want to echo out you received an A. You passed the exam. Let me zoom out. Alright. So let's change score to 99. Refresh it, and you can see that you received an A. You passed the exam. So what we want to do to make it a bit easier for the others, for the B, C, D, and Fs, just copy our if, paste it once, change the if to else if, and let's change the score. We want to see if it's greater than or equal to 80, and it needs to be less than or equal to 89. We want to give a student a B. So let's copy it again. One more time. Yeah, this is right. So the second one, if we want the third one actually, if we want to see if the student received a C, is greater than 70, less than or equal to 79, and the student receives a C. And we also got a D, which is in between 60 and 69. And the last one is a fewer than. So this basically means that if it's not in between our if or else if statement, we just need to print out an else, because that will be done no matter what. So let's say that we want to echo out you received an F, you failed the scores. Save it, refresh the browser, and it's of course still 99. So let's change it to 70, you received a C, 60, you received a D, and let's change it to 20, and you received an F. Alright, next exercise. So exercise number 4, let me remove everything in our PHP tags. So a car manufacturer is replacing its machines. The machines will only be replaced if one of the following conditions is met. Alright, so let's create variables, and the first one is the machine has more than 10,000 working hours. So let's say machine hours is equal to, let's say 8,000. So let's create a new one, machine age is equal to, let's say 8. And the third one is machine failures, which is equal to 24. This can also be done with an if statement. So what we want to say, this is why we use our operators as well. We want to say that machine hours is greater than or less than 10,000, or machine age is greater than 7, or machine failures is greater than or equal to 25. So if one of these three options are true, we want to echo out something. And what we want to echo out is machine needs to be replaced. Otherwise, you want to echo out machine is in perfect condition. Save it. Refresh the browser, and you can see that the machine needs to be replaced. Because the machine hours is less than, because we've written down 8,000. Machine age is equal to 8, which is greater than 7. And since it's an OR, so one of the three needs to be true, the machine needs to be replaced. And the third one is machine failures, which is equal to 24. So it doesn't need to be replaced for the failures. So let's change age to 5, refresh it, and you can see that machine is in a perfect condition. So let's continue on with the next one, exercise 5. So exercise 5, create a variable with a year, create a program that shows if the year is a leap year, and the leap year is a year that you can divide by 400 or by 4. Alright, so let's create a year, set it equal to 2000. And what we want to say that if, it's pretty much the same as the previous one, if variable year modulus 400 is equal to 0, so the remainder needs to be 0, or year modulus 4 is equal to 0, that's 5, that's wrong. If that's true, we want to echo out the year is not a leap year. Excuse me, it is a leap year. Otherwise, we want to echo out the year is not a leap year. Let's refresh the browser, and we get an unexpected equal sign. Oh, we're missing an equal sign. Let's save it. And you can see that 2000 is a leap year, and if we change it to 2001, it's not a leap year. Alright, let's look at the next exercise. Write a program that displays the multiplication table of a given integer. Create a variable of the beginning and ending of the loop. So what we basically need is two variables, and we want to multiply them until a certain number is reached. So let's remove our code. Let's create variable x and set it equal to 1, and let's create variable y and set it equal to 20. And remember, we need to loop. So therefore, I will be using a while loop. And what we want to say in our while loop is do something until variable x is less than or equal to 20, and we want to multiply it. Well, we can replace 20 with variable x, excuse me. So let's say that we have variable multiplication, and that's equal to variable x multiplied by variable y. We can echo that out as well, but let's do it this way. So what we want to say is, let's echo out, so variable x concatenated with the multiply sign by variable y is concatenated with the multiplication, and add a break as well. And remember, it's a loop, so we need to increment variable x by 1. Save it, refresh the browser, and you can see that 1 multiplied by 20 is 20, and this goes on until variable x reached the same amount of variable y, because we're seeing if it's less than or equal to. Alright, last exercise. Write a program to get the Fibonacci series from 0 to 50. And the Fibonacci series is a series of elements where the previous two elements are added to get the next element, starting with 0 in our case. So let's start by creating two variables. num1 is equal to 0 and num2 is equal to 1. We also need to create a counter because we need to loop and set it equal to 0. Let's create a while loop. And what we want to see, well, what needs to happen every time is that counter needs to be less than, let's say, 11. And we'll see later on why we chose 11. So what we want to do is we want to echo out with a space num1, because num1 will be increasing every time. So we want to create a new variable, num3, and we want to set it equal to num2 plus num1, because it needs to be added every single time. Then we need to swap number 1 to number 2, and we need to swap number 2 with number 3. And we need to increment counter every time the loop is executed. Let's test it out. And you can see that the Fibonacci numbers are printed out. Right now we chose 11, but if we set it to 10, you can see that the 55 is removed because we only need the amount till 50. This was it for this episode. If you do enjoy my content and you want to see more, leave this video a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button.